Mase taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap the same way you act in these streets, it's going to work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always got to give credit to where credit is due. There would be no Jim Jones if it wasn't for them guys.
You were fanned out and you begging to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mase like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mase actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
And I know because I seen it. I was there. I was at Jim album release party and everybody was over there with Jim, and Cam is standing over here with like 3 or 4 people just looking on and couldn't believe that Jim is the guy.
And you are a guardian angel and designer. What you talking about, man? You are from the Bronx, bro. You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. I did not grow up with you. Contrary to what you believe, I never needed nowhere to stay. You act like that couch. You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan.
What if everything you believed about Jim Jones was straight up fake? What if the man who says he launched Mase and Cam'ron's whole wave was really just a superfan begging to be let in? What if Jim's entire story was built on somebody else's work, Mase and Cam's? Back when Dipset had the streets in a chokehold with diplomatic immunity, the whole game thought it was Jim's empire. But what if that whole legacy was a front, and Jim was just the lucky guy standing next to greatness? Now the truth is leaking out, and it's messy. Jim's scrambling to stay in the spotlight, doing everything he can to keep the mask on. But how long can someone keep pretending before the real bosses say, that's enough? The same ones who made him might just be the ones who end him. This ain't just another rap beef. It's one of hip-hop's deepest lies getting ripped wide open. See, in this game, one rule has always stood strong. You earn your respect, you don't fake it. You don't get to rep blocks you ain't from. You don't get to flip your backstory just to look cooler. And you sure don't get to snatch credit from the ones who actually built the movement. But Jim, he's been stepping on those rules for 2 decades. And now the very people who gave him a lane are ready to tear down every lie he's been hiding behind.
What's the chances of you, Cam, and Mase getting back?
I don't think it's really gonna happen. We two different type of people. And always have. Competitive nature always been first before friendship. Remember, Cam, my man. It's not.
So it's not you.
I took the position of my position. Cam is my partner. I'm not his artist. I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down. I'm not his soldier. You heard? I'm his partner. But in the journey that we had to take, I had to do what was needed. Well, I played my position. And that's why I'm able to be here and have a conversation with you, because I did what I was supposed to do.
Can we talk about the nerve? Jim Jones really got up and said he was the CEO of the Diplomats, that he was the one who held it all down for Mase and Cam'ron. That ain't just twisting history, that's straight up identity theft in Harlem. Out here claiming something you ain't build, that's not just disrespect, and that's dangerous. And the craziest part, he says it all with a straight face like it's gospel. This is what happens when someone tells the same made-up story for so long. They start believing their own fairy tale. But here's the catch with building your whole legacy on someone else's name. The real bosses eventually show up to collect what's theirs. Boom! Just like that, the vibe hit ice cold. Cam'ron didn't just disagree with Jim, he shattered his whole fake narrative like glass. 4 simple words, you were our fan, and boom, 20 years of pretending went up in smoke. This ain't about hurt egos or bruised pride. It's about the difference between real architects and clout chasers. There's a major line between people who build from the ground up and those who leech off the blueprint. Cam'ron made it crystal clear which side Jim's been standing on all along. And spoiler, it ain't the side with the bricks and the hustle. Cam said it straight. You not from that.
Never needed nowhere to stay. You act like your couch. You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan. Not from none of that. So you gonna sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem shit. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you gotta keep saying, I'm from Harlem? Harlem know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem.
But it gets deeper. Cam wasn't just calling him out. He cracked open Jim's whole mindset. See, when someone hasn't built anything real, they develop this bottomless craving for validation. They don't roll with successful people out of loyalty. It's fear. Fear of being exposed as empty underneath the image. And Jim, his whole street persona, it's all borrowed swagger from people who actually lived it. But when that fake foundation starts shaking, these folks don't own up. They double down on the lies and hope nobody checks them. Well, guess what? The check just bounced and the truth came knocking. He taught you how to rap. Boom, that one line crushed everything. That was the moment the whole illusion shattered. Jim Jones didn't co-found Dipset. He didn't discover Cameron. He didn't put Mase on. He didn't build an empire. He just heard their mixtapes heating up and begged his way into the circle like a fanboy who got lucky with the timing. This changes everything. Jim's entire career gets flipped on its head. Every song, every collab, every piece of success, all of it goes back to one desperate move, a groupie maneuver that somehow worked. He wasn't a mastermind. He was a passenger, just someone who talked his way onto the ride. And here's what really stings for folks who know how the streets move. Begging, that's the worst thing you can do out here. In this world, begging ain't just weak. It's a flat-out violation of real manhood codes. Real bosses build, they don't chase. Real leaders create, they don't latch on. Jim just got unmasked as someone who ain't neither. This ain't about whether he played a role in Dipset's rise. It's about how long you can live off another man's blueprint before the real architects show up with a wrecking ball.
Fanned out and you begging to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mase like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mase actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
And Cam just brought the demolition crew with him. In the streets, respect is everything. It's your name, your legacy, your value. And Jim, he just went all the way broke. No credit left in the game. And what's even worse, Jim been lying so long the receipts started piling up. He's out here contradicting himself on record. And now the truth ain't just out, it's screaming from the rooftops. Jim's own words from back in the day are about to wreck everything he's saying now. You know what really separates the street legends from the posers? Consistency. Real ones keep their story solid because they lived it. The fakes, they switch it up depending on who's in the room, and eventually those lies come back like a boomerang.
Say it. Matter of fact, bring up the clip.
Mase helped me actually learn how to rap. Mase showed me how to rap. Mase actually showed me, he was the first person to show me how to rap. Mase actually sat me down and showed me the magic to rap.
We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. Wait, make none of this up. You was a fan. I put you down because you had a free crib and you was a nice guy. That's how you got down originally. Period.
Jim Jones been remixing his origin story for 2 whole decades. But here's the problem. The internet don't forget. And when your own mouth exposes the lies you're telling today, that ain't just embarrassing, that's a total career collapse. Now peep how Cameron lines it up, clean and deadly. He's not just throwing shade, he's about to drop proof. In the streets, when someone says they got receipts, you better believe the whole story's about to get aired out. And what Cam's holding, it's about to erase every bit of street clout Jim thought he had. Listen to how calm Cam sounds. That's the sound of knowing you got the facts on lock. He don't even gotta argue. He don't need to shout. All he's gotta do is press play.
Mase taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap, the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit where credit is due. There would be no Jim Jones if it wasn't for them guys.
Now think about that. Jim, who's been flexing like he ran Dipset, acted like he was the CEO, the backbone, the muscle, just got caught on camera saying that Mase taught him how to rap, not the other way around. And once the streets hear that kind of confession, man, no spin, no tweet, no slick talking can save you from that kind of exposure. Jim didn't make Mase, Mase made Jim. And this ain't just some contradiction. This is a full-blown confession. Jim's own mouth just backed up everything Cam and Mase been saying from day one. When your biggest enemy doesn't even have to take you down because you already did it to yourself, that's the purest kind of street justice.
These styles come out. Yo, I heard the new did. I heard the did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? Cool. One day, I'm leaving Mase house on the west side, going back to the east side. I stop at Jomo's house. His grandmother died, God bless his dad. And he had a free crib. So yeah, I would bring some a little crack maybe. I'd be at everybody's house though. I love my grandparents. My grandparents were strict. I stayed at Duke the God house. I stayed at Mase with Kuda. I stayed at her. I stayed a bunch of. I never needed nowhere to stay.
Jim's lies go way deeper than just Dipset. He's been twisting the truth about basic stuff, like their friendship, saying Cam was crashing at his spot like some broke artist when the real story was the complete opposite. This is classic behavior from someone who gets a little fame and then rewrites history to paint themselves as the boss, the savior, the one who made it all happen. But here's the catch. You can't rewrite history when the people who lived it are still alive and talking. That kind of lying, it turns into a weapon. And Cam and Mase just picked it up and fired back. What makes this all even wilder is that Jim has no way to fight back. What's he gonna say? The confession is right there, recorded. How do you explain saying with your own voice that someone taught you how to rap while running around claiming you built them? You can't. That's checkmate. And it gets deeper. While Jim's out here fumbling his image with lie after lie, the real ones, the people who saw Dipset rise from the ground up, have been watching it all unfold. And now, they're ready to speak up and drop the real story about what happened behind the scenes. Because once the lies wear off and the smoke fades, the truth always comes from the ones who were actually in the room. When Juelz Santana said everything was cool between the crew in the beginning, he wasn't just talking, he was laying the groundwork for what went wrong later.
When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim, you know, whatever he said, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when I got there, Cam and Jim was like this, super tight. Mase wasn't even in the picture. I don't know Mase like that, you know what I'm saying? Every time I seen Mase, it's been a mutual, you know what I'm saying, respect there. So, you know, that's what that's been as far as me and Mase, you know what I'm saying? As far as, yeah, when I met Cam and Jim, they were already Trump tight and locked in. You understand what I'm saying? The Diplomats was already a name they had. You know what I'm saying? I don't sit there and claim I made the Dip, so that's not something I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I made Dipset though, the two. Yeah, I did that.
His tone, calm, steady. That's how real ones talk. No hype, no capping, just facts. Because when you're telling the truth, you don't need to dress it up. But here's where it gets tricky. Choke No Joke drops a bomb that changes the whole dynamic. He confirms something that complicates everything we thought. People really did work under Jim. He wasn't just tagging along, he had some real power inside the Dipset machine. So now this ain't just about someone faking their way to the top, it's about someone who had a little juice and let it get to their head. Jim wasn't a nobody, but he wasn't the boss either. He wasn't the CEO like he's been screaming for years. He was more like middle management trying to rewrite his role into founder-level status. Then comes the line that's gonna light up every comment section. Choke No Joke said there would be no Dipset without Jim and that he was the muscle behind everything. Now hold up. Before the Jim supporters start throwing parties, let's break down what that really means. Being the muscle, that's about backup. That's about presence. That's about holding it down physically, not creating the vision. Protection doesn't equal leadership. Jim played a big role, no doubt, but being essential to the operation doesn't mean you were running it. This whole thing is exposing a split. Two sides forming based on who was closest to the core and who just moved around it. And that gap, it's getting wider by the day. Santana and Choke No Joke ain't backing Jim because they think he's flawless. They know his issues. They're riding for him because they saw what he really did behind the scenes, and now they're watching Cam and Mase brush that aside like it never happened. But here's where the real mind games begin. This is psychological warfare. Both sides are spinning their version of the truth. Cam and Mase, they're minimizing Jim's role to highlight how much he's exaggerated his come-up. Meanwhile, Jim's people are leaning hard into his actual value to push back against that just a fan label. The full truth, like always, it's sitting somewhere in the messy middle, but in the streets, perception becomes reality, and right now, Jim's image is getting dragged through the dirt. He's losing the perception war, and bad. Street politics are wild like that. When everyone's on the grind, loyalty's tight. But as soon as one person starts getting more shine than the others, that's when the envy starts creeping in. And what's coming next, it's about to show exactly who's been holding on to that jealousy all along. Then boom, Choke No Joke flips the whole script. He claims Cam'ron was the one who couldn't handle Jim's success. Yeah, Cam, not Jim. That accusation? It's bold, but don't jump to conclusions just yet. See, Choke got his own issues with Cam that go way back. He almost squared up with Cam just for showing love to Jim's mixtape. When someone's that heated over you giving props to their ex-homie, it says a lot about how personal things really are. So yeah, Choke's defending Jim, but let's be real, it ain't just about loyalty, it's also about spite. And in this war of egos and history, that makes everything even messier. Now here comes Choke No Joke, painting Jim as the protector, the muscle that kept Cam safe in the streets. But let's look at when all these interviews are popping up. Jim Jones just dropped his new album At the Church Steps in February 2025, and suddenly everybody's back talking about old Dipset drama. Yeah, real convenient timing. Whenever the spotlight fades, the quickest way to spark attention is to revive old beef, and Jim's playing that card heavy right now. And Choke, he's the perfect teammate for this kind of narrative shift. Why? Because he's got his own personal score to settle too. Then Joel Santana jumps in, breaking down the whole 50 Cent situation, but the real red flag? Jim was so hungry for solo shine that he broke the most basic rule of the streets, loyalty during war. While Dipset was beefing with 50, Jim went and performed with the enemy. That ain't strategy, that's straight betrayal fueled by ego and envy. Jim couldn't take living in Cam's shadow anymore, so he pulled a move that shattered their bond. Forever. That ain't how a real solid soldier moves. That's what a jealous hype man does when he can't accept his role in the squad.
End of the day, Jim just was smart enough to do it quicker. You know, they say time heals all wounds, so people usually let years and years and years go by. Jim, you know what I mean? He saw his moment. He saw his moment, and he saw that 50 had a platform at the time that was, you know, bigger than ours. It was bigger than ours. So to perform a song which was the biggest song out right now in front of a crowd that we are not normally in front of, you understand what I'm saying? I don't think it was the worst thing. Like Jim knew that it wasn't no bloodshed, you know what I'm saying? And Jim was smart enough to know, I think, all right, this is not even that serious. Like we at the time, I knew people in Queens, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like the Cam, and you see, look at him and Cam right now, they're on the platform. So obviously the beef wasn't that serious. You understand what I'm saying? They just waited longer to settle their differences. Why is it cool to see Cam and 50 now, but it wasn't cool to see Jim and 50 then?
This wasn't about business, this was personal. Jim wasn't betrayed, he was the one doing the betraying. He couldn't stomach being the number 2, so he blew the whole foundation up just to chase a solo crown. And now, 2 decades later, he's still obsessing over it, bringing in anyone with a grudge, hoping they'll help him rewrite his legacy.
People, it don't even be the actual people. Like if me and you was beefing, and you said, I don't know, Zeke got a peanut head paws, and I say you got 11 toes, or whatever the case may be. That'd be that. But it'd be everybody else on the side, your group of niggas. Be like, yeah, the peanut gallery, they gonna make up all this shit, make sure to turn the peanuts into peanut butter, then whip it into something else to make it all a whole bunch of different shit. Then my talk about your feet and all that, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, just to, like, if, that's everybody who's from Harlem got some family in the Bronx. Everybody who got family in the Bronx got family in Harlem. Yeah, Jim is from the Bronx and he came to Harlem. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, you got to understand the war. Like, Jim it's like battling. It's like rap. Like, Jim, whatever, but they wasn't. They was on platforms. Jim said what he said. Jim, I think what he said, something about inviting him to his, so he said, he said, they on my dick, right? That's something that's serious. Like,
even Freaky Zeke, trying to stay neutral, admits the beef wasn't even that deep in the beginning. But once the outsiders jumped in and started stirring things up, that's when everything spiraled out of control. So ask yourself, who really wins by keeping the old wounds bleeding? Easy, the one whose only shot at staying relevant is dragging up drama from the past. When someone's been outed as a fraud and they've got nothing real left to stand on, they start reaching for the dirtiest weapons, threats, shade, and cheap shots. And now, Jim Jones is about to show the world just how low a man will go when the lies stop landing and the mask falls off.
But I see the pattern now. If I either disagree with you, no one I take it that route because they got some genuine love for you. You keep going on and on and on. And they put hands on you and you get told things. You cool with them. I see you with C Gutter. Junior Mafia, cool. I see you taking pictures with True Life. It's cool. Me and DC, y'all having sit-downs to work out. Gunshots was let off with that. Y'all having sit-downs to work it out. You tried to chase French Montana out the game. That ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot. Pardon me, not his video shoot, movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere, and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissing. You gotta eat it. You just sitting in the crowd. Nah, dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. You ever wonder how he met Mano? Ask him how he met Mano. Mano gonna downplay because they cool now. He tried to press Mano one day because Mano first came out. He had a little record where he was saying dissing the rappers. I don't know, he's dissing his name. So Jim plus see Mano one day and was like, yo, what's up with all that saying my name? Mano said, who the fuck you? Oh, you think I one of them niggas? You want your mother?
Cameron isn't just clapping back, he's tearing Jim's whole street image to shreds piece by piece. This ain't just about personal beef anymore. It's about pulling back the curtain on a long history of desperate moves and shaky behavior that's been hiding in plain sight. Cam says Jim got no real standards, no loyalty, no pride, just a never-ending need to be seen, to be heard, to stay relevant. That tough guy image, the whole muscle of Dipset role, Cam just erased all of that with one story and says he's got witnesses to back it up. This hits deep because Jim's entire persona, the enforcer, the backbone, the street certified writer, just got exposed as fiction. And Cam, he ain't even mad anymore. He's not yelling. He's not trying to fight. He's bored. And in this game, that's worse than hate. When someone stops seeing you as a threat and starts seeing you as a joke, that's the ultimate disrespect. Cam basically said, you're not even worth my time anymore.
What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character for years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just, if people choose to believe that, then look, I got a Brooklyn, bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you to, man. Period. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna try to downplay your character. And I didn't know all this going on because I was on vacation. I came back a few days ago and seen all this going on. And it's like, for instance, right? I see you post, and let me get jumped in Rucker, this, that, and third by 8, that, and third. I'll let that story however they want to tell it. I seen a story one time when Little C's was telling the story. I mean, me and Little C's was cool. And Little C's told me he punched me in my face. Really? And me and C, I seen C's, really? No, not dissing C's, but no, Little C's never punched me. But if you go to his internet story, that's what he said he did. And like I said, I got no problem. I seen C's, we good. But you keep running around with these 25-year-old stories.
And now, all eyes are on Jim because his next move is coming, and it's about to show us just how far he's willing to fall to hold on to a story that's already been burned down.
Business out there, none of that type of shit. I'm not that type of here to talk down. I don't care. They know what I do. You heard? And they know what I've done. And they could dance around it all they like that joking, but they know upset is going to be a real problem. And I can tell you about times that I did get upset. And I can tell you about times that they don't want me to talk about. You heard? The both of them. You dig? Like, this game, they can't play with me too much. I give them the floor to do that because that serves me no purpose. I got too much shit to do. I'm trying to get to a real bag, a real different type of bag, and I'm trying to help out.
Threats. That's the last move when you got nothing else left. When the lies get picked apart, your credibility's in the gutter, and the truth already lit the stage on fire, intimidation becomes the only card to play. That's exactly where Jim Jones is at now. He's hinting he's gonna expose Machi and Cameron's secrets. But peep what he's not doing. He's not denying a single thing they accused him of.
He need to go on a diet. He need to get his life together. He needs to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back. Nigga look big around the neck, waist look crazy. I'm body shaming his. You heard? He need to go get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard?
And when threats flop, he slides into body shaming. Jim really out here telling Maya to go on a diet like that's supposed to prove a point. This is what a man says when he's run out of facts and can't fight with the truth. Grown man energy? Nah, this is straight middle school shade. And the fact that Jim thinks making fun of someone's looks is gonna help his case, it shows just how deep the desperation runs. This ain't gangster, this ain't tough, this ain't even slick, it's pitiful.
The point of anything, I think when people put negative energy in the light, people just run with it. Yeah. The media, social media is not about anything positive. You know what I mean? It's about going viral, catching people's attention and things like that. You dig? So I try not to feed into that because I know there's a big reality. There's a big difference between the two. You know what I mean? But even though I gotta live in the two for business-wise and things like that, but for the most part, I try to stay away from all the social media.
And the irony, it's wild. Jim keeps saying he ain't taking Cam's responses seriously, calling it a clout chase. But who's the one sitting down with XXL, Cam Capone, and any other mic they put in front of him? Jim, the guy throwing clout chasing accusations, is the same one doing a full-blown press tour just to stay in the spotlight.
You know, what was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laughed, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
Yeah, you know, the internet gets kind of crazy with the lies. The lies are going crazy on the internet.
I mean, well, the lies start from a narrative, and the narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors. Like, that shit just take time out my day from making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my...
But here's the real moment that exposes everything. When the interviewer actually pushes Jim for real details on the beef with Mase and Cam, he freezes up. All that tough talk, gone. Suddenly, Mr. CEO got nothing to say, but because when your whole image is built on shaky lies and someone starts asking real questions, that story crumbles fast. Jim loves making bold claims and throwing wild threats as long as he's controlling the mic. But the second someone else starts digging, it all falls apart. What you're about to witness is the full psychological breakdown of a man who's been living in a lie for so long.
You know what I'm saying? Mase and all that going on yet, or are they still coming up?
I'm not going to sit here and do a discography, my brother. It's a little bit too much for me. And you ain't pay enough for that. So if you got some other questions you want to ask, or you could erase all this, send you your money back. Either or.
Okay, I mean...
I understand what's going on and the plight of everything that's going on, and people want to know the history, but this ain't the way that you're not going to be able to get the whole Jim Jones or Jomo story for that, what you did. I thought this was some regular questions. Seemed like you trying to get everything up to every point, and that's not going to happen right now. So if you want to ask some questions, I'm cool with that, but you definitely can't ask me all these questions you're asking, my brother. So if you got some ask, you better ask and get it off your chest, but I ain't going through this with you because
reality itself feels like an enemy to him now. This ain't just personal beef anymore. It's something way deeper. Cameron laid it out plain. Jim has a pattern, a dangerous one. According to him, every artist that links up with Jim ends up worse off than when they started. That's not leadership. That's leech behavior. Real leaders elevate the people around them. Jim, he drains them, then rewrites history to make it seem like he made them. But the most damaging bomb? Cam reveals this ain't some recent fallout. It's been over 10 years of Jim pushing a negative press agenda against Cam and Mase, a whole decade of sneak disses, shade, and fake narratives. This isn't new, this is obsession. The kind of obsession that comes from someone who can't move on because the past is the only time he felt important. And the irony, it's thick. Jim keeps claiming he don't care about drama, that he's focused on money and doesn't have time for rumors. But then he's out here doing interviews with XXL, Cam Capone, and every platform that'll listen. The man yelling, "I'm about my paper," is out here using old beef to beg for relevance. Let's be clear, this ain't just three Harlem legends arguing about the good old days. This is a reckoning in hip-hop culture. It's about authenticity, about the difference between creators and clout chasers, between builders and opportunists, between those who earn respect and those who steal it. And now, here comes the final twist nobody saw coming. Because while Jim's been busy rewriting the past, the streets just pulled out the real receipts. Behind all the noise, all the interviews, all the ego flexing, there's a silent army of folks who were actually there, and they're finally ready to talk. Insiders are speaking up, producers, engineers, OGs from Harlem, and they're all telling the same story. Jim wasn't the boss. He was the tag-along. He was around, sure, but he wasn't running nothing. He didn't form Dipset. He didn't put Cam on. And he damn sure didn't teach Mase how to rap. That's the myth Jim built. But now, that myth is collapsing hard. People are tired of watching him spin the narrative like he carried the crew, tired of watching him pose like a king when he never built the castle. What's being revealed now is bigger than petty beef. It's a reminder that hip-hop doesn't forget, and real ones don't stay silent forever. Even industry folks who tried to stay out of the drama are now confirming what Cam and Mase been saying. Some say Jim got too greedy, others say he lost himself chasing solo fame, but the one thing they all agree on, the truth's finally catching up. And while Jim's still out here fishing for sympathy, clout, and viral moments, the people who actually made history are pulling rank. This ain't about favoritism, it's about facts. And when enough truth stacks up, no PR stunt, no podcast rant, and no last-minute feature can protect you. The stage lights are off, the crowd's thinning out, and what's left? Just a man standing in the middle of his own broken storyline. And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, Cam drops one more bomb that leaves no room for doubt. He says Jim wasn't just bending the truth, he was running a whole operation built on borrowed respect. Cam breaks it down like this. Jim didn't just benefit from Dipset's rise, he used it to build an identity that never really belonged to him. We're talking about someone who walked into rooms already validated by the names around him. He didn't earn that validation, he absorbed it, like a mirror reflecting someone else's shine. And now, years later, that same shine is fading, and Jim's out here scrambling, throwing wild shots just to keep his name in the convo. Cam's got the timeline, Mai got the mentorship receipts, and the old heads, they're nodding along because everybody in Harlem remembers who really put in the work, and it wasn't Jim leading the charge. He was protected, supported, included, but he wasn't the brain behind the movement. That's the uncomfortable truth he's been dodging for 20 years. And now, that illusion is cracking loud. The fans are waking up, the interviews feel forced, the stories don't line up, and Jim? He's stuck in a corner, swinging at shadows, trying to fight off the facts with recycled energy and shaky alliances. But here's the thing, you can't out-talk history. You can't outlie the people who were in the trenches with you. You can't keep saying you were the boss when everyone else remembers you as the tag-along with a walkie-talkie. This ain't just a fall from grace, it's a hard landing. And as more truth keeps spilling out, Jim's running out of places to hide. Because eventually, all the masks come off. Jim Jones's story, it's the ultimate cautionary tale. What happens when you build your whole identity off someone else's grind? This wasn't just a rap beef. This was a full-on exposure of a man who spent 2 decades hiding behind smoke and mirrors. Cam'ron and Mase didn't just win, they pulled back the curtain on a myth that had been running unchecked for years. They didn't need to yell, they didn't need to lie. All they had to do was press play. Jim's own words took him down. The confessions, the contradictions, the delusion, it all came crumbling down like a fake throne built on shaky ground. And now, the mask is off, the streets are watching, and the legacy Jim tried to fake his way into, gone. Let this be a lesson. Credibility can't be borrowed, respect ain't gifted. In this game, the truth always finds its way out. And when it does, no tough talk, no interviews, no press tour can save you. If you rocked with this video, smash that like button, drop a comment, and most importantly, subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the drama shaking up the celeb world. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video on your screen to catch even more wild celebrity drama and behind-the-scenes madness that the industry doesn't want you to see. See you on the next one, and remember, the truth always wins.